What's up, guys? We are Tottenham TV here. Big game on Saturday at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We take on Newcastle. Here to preview the game with us, we've got Lee from Newcastle Fan TV. How you doing, Lee? Welcome back to the channel.
Thank you very much for having us back on. I don't know about Saturday, mate. I think it's Sunday. But
Sunday, 4 o'clock. Oh, you get mixed up by these days sometimes. You never know. But yes, Sunday, 4 o'clock we're playing. Thank you for reminding me.
Awful, isn't it?
How's it when you coming down? How long is it going to take you?
I think we're setting off about 9 AM, so I'm going to be there around about between 2 and 3, so I'm looking forward to it.
But are you looking forward to the game? That's the big question.
No, if I'm being honest with you. I'm more looking forward to seeing what your stadium brings, as obviously, as I mentioned off camera just before, this will be my third time coming down, but the first time going in. It was being built when we done a preview for the game with Deadline Day last year, and I was down doing a documentary about racism in April, so it was almost done. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting it now. Looking forward to it.
That's a hot topic at the moment, racism.
Well, it's everywhere, isn't it? It's bang out of order.
Yeah, all that social media stuff. But Newcastle, Steve Bruce has come in the summer. Obviously, Rafa couldn't find an agreement with Mike Ashley. I can see the disappointment in your face. Sorry to remind you, this is the reality. This is Newcastle in 2019. But is there any semblance of hope going into this game that maybe you can get a result?
Well, judging by the last two home games, he's only just narrowly won 1-0 against them, haven't he? Whereas Benitez is very defensive and try and shut up shop, where Bruce will go for it. So Norwich tore us apart last week, which was very disappointing, and that in itself was like a 4.5-hour drive for nothing. But I think you'll try and go for it. I think you'll leave gaps in behind. It won't be the old Rafa Benitez system. You'll try and go for it. We might score 1-2, but you'll win. I'm pretty confident he's going to score 2, 3, 4 goals. What I would like to see from this side, from us, is just a better performance, because Norwich were a newly promoted side and absolutely ripped us apart. We look like the championship side, whereas they look like a top 4 side. So for me, I'm not expecting nothing. I'm going down in hope that we'll grab a point. But realistically, the game the following week against Watford is already looking like a big game, because if we get beat, this is 3 defeats from 3, which I'm expecting to. Then we've got Watford, who are also struggling. That could be already at the end of August a must win before the international break.
Well, to be fair to yourselves, Norwich did look quite decent against Liverpool in terms of they created a lot of chances in that game. So you can't beat yourself too much up about that performance. But, last season I think you went 10 games, your first 10 games you didn't win, and you ended up staying up. So obviously you don't want to go another 10 games and not winning and hope for your fortunes to turn around. But in terms of how you've played, you gave Arsenal a tough game in the first game. They only just beat you. How have your new signings been settling in?
Well, Joe Linton's been hit and miss. He got praise in some parts against Arsenal. He got a lot of stick against Norwich because he just didn't fancy it. I tell you, a lad that you need to watch out for if he's fit is Alan Tate-Maximin. He missed the Norwich game, but if he comes on, I don't think he'll start, mate, but if he comes on against you, he'll give one of your fullbacks a bit of a torrid time, because he's very much in the mould of Ben Arthur. He just run at you, tricks, flicks, shoots from anywhere. So he's probably the one that we're most excited about. The rest of them, Emil Croft got ripped apart in Norwich. Jericho Williams will probably just wait for him to get his match fitness. Andy Carroll isn't actually injured. He's just not match fit. So that could be another direction later on the season where we go Sam Allardyce long ball,
When it's your only hope, yeah. Andy Carroll, what is the general feeling around the Newcastle fans who's back in Newcastle? Is it like excitement, or is it kind of seen as a bit of a desperate move?
A bit of both. I think, look, he's one of us. He's a Geordie through and through. We want him to do well. We want him to stay match fit, because he's the best header in the league. You name a defender, attacker who's better than him in the air. There isn't, but the problem is getting him on that field. So I think if you get 20 games out of Andy Carroll in all cup competitions and league competitions, I think you've done well. And if he plays 20 games, I'm pretty confident he'll score 1 and 4. And I think not just that, he's a threat. So even if he doesn't, you can play top man, big man, little man. You can be defensive from corner set pieces. So I don't think he's going to be the number 1 striker, even when he is fit. But it's a good option from the bench, isn't it? But he's a Geordie, we want him to do well.
Yeah, obviously, but it's a shame for him because throughout his career he really has had problems staying on the pitch, hasn't he? And even in the last 3 seasons or so, I can't remember. You can probably count on one hand probably how many games he's played for West Ham. It was before you guys, which is a shame. But on his day, he's a top striker, and that's what you're hoping for. You can just reclaim those. But literally, he hasn't. In my opinion, he hasn't really done great ever since he was last at Newcastle. Which is true.
Ironically, the club sold him at the right time, 35 million. We will have 35 million. I mean, we sell these average players to these big clubs for 30-odd million, not naming any clubs in particular. In North London maybe is another one as well.
Well, you're regretting that now. You're regretting that now. Look at how he's turned around.
Yeah, he's had a good season, so I'll give him that. But yeah, Andy Carroll, look, he's not going to be that player that he once was, I don't feel. He was in England at national when he was just leaving us. But I think he's just going to be second, third choice this season. We're not expecting him to be 10, 15 goals straight. I know 5 will be a brilliant return for him.
Well, going back to Mr. Sissoko, do you see him now? Obviously, when the deal happened, and probably the 2 years after that deal happened for 30 million, it did look like Newcastle were getting the upper hand in that deal because he really wasn't up to it in terms of the quality Tottenham needed. But given his performances last season, do you think Tottenham fans are seeing the real Mr. Sissoko now? Or do you think it was more? Or do you think last season was an outlier?
Will you ever see the real Moussa Sissoko? I don't know. Look, if you sold us Moussa Sissoko back for 30 million, I would turn that down. I think it's still too much from her. Look, I think he's had a much better season last season. His best since probably being at Newcastle in spells. So even for us, he was only good in spells. 1 in 10 games. That's how poor he was for us. No doubt he was playing in the right midfield, which wasn't great, but he looks better in centre midfield, but I wouldn't take it back for 30 million. Half the price I would.
Well, these day and age, 30 million probably gets you a substitute right back, so it's not a bad price in theory. Well, maybe not for Newcastle, but not for you. Yeah, you're still in like 2010 prices, I think, or something like that. Probably.
I think it's 2000.
2000, yeah. But Steve Bruce said earlier, he did say earlier when he first got the job that he's going to be looking more at cup runs this season than in terms of league finish. In previous years, you've maybe thrown in the cups when Newcastle haven't really had a good cup run for a while. And would you take being heavily involved in a relegation battle if it meant a good cup run?
Done your homework, haven't you, Si? But Newcastle being Newcastle, we get Leicester at home in the League Cup. Now, there's only one team probably you'd say is on par, which would be Everton. So we get the toughest straw, ironically. Look, it would be fantastic for the Geordies to go on a cup run. I think what you were referring to is what Steve Bruce is as well, is having a bit of hope. Because we know that this season's going to be struggle. It's all about staying up, unfortunately, for us. And that's a horrible thing when we came up from the Championship and had 2 mid-table places. And we've gone backwards. We know this Rafa Benitez has left, which, I boycotted the Arsenal game, which was very, very difficult.
You boycotted the Arsenal game. I didn't know that.
All of us did, yeah. The majority of Newcastle fans TV did. Just one person went in. And that was really, really difficult for me to do because I followed Newcastle home and away. But I think it's the hope. You just want to try and have some hope. So a cup run, we never do well in the League Cup. I think the FA Cup might be a little bit more realistic because the big boys go back into European competitions again. So it'd be nice, but I'm not expecting that.
You had to choose the Arsenal game, didn't you? You took away the 12th man in the game that we want you to take points off them. For God's sake, Lee. Choose Spurs at home next time, yeah?
Hey, the Arsenal lot have been saying that you are going to finish in the top 4, so they've been pretty kind to you when we interviewed them.
Yeah, because they know their place at the moment. But in terms of Steve Bruce, I know he replaced Rafa and everyone's disappointed, but do you think he's been treated harshly, in your opinion, since he's been appointed, in terms of how the fans have reacted to him?
Yeah, I do. I'm one of them, I'm not going to lie. But I think some people say, it's the Sunderland thing. It's not for me personally. I look at his CV, and this is the biggest job he's got along with Aston Villa. So they're all no disrespect to the 2 Sheffield clubs, the 2 Birmingham clubs, Huddersfield when he first started. They're not he's never going to get a top job because what's he done? The furthest he's ever done his whole career was take Hull to an FA Cup final. And obviously, that didn't go too well for him. But it's his CV for me. I look at a manager's CV and say, okay, I'm happy with that. Coming after Rafa Benitez is a good, difficult job. He knows that. And the best thing for him to do is win over the fans, but he hasn't started great, has he?
Yeah, not been a great start, but I guess he's a Geordie, so you got does that give him any kind of credit in terms with the Newcastle fans?
Well, he is a Geordie, but you heard the way he speaks. He doesn't speak like a Geordie. Some of the words that he says, he's not like, "Hey, you Disney, Harry? What's going on?" You know what I mean? You don't hear him say that. He's quite posh Geordie, but he's been away from the. It's like Hughes moving out of London, moving north for 20 years, then coming back saying, "Oh, I'm a Londoner," when he don't sound like one. But I get it that he grew up and his dad's a Newcastle fan, but that means nothing. Not enough for us because it's the CV first. Then you look at the ways localities are. Yes, he's a Geordie, that's great, but that'll not save him in the long run. If we're still bottom by January and February, I think it's panic mode for the board.
And one last question before I let you go. The Mike Ashley interview with the Daily Mail, I thought I'd get your maybe thoughts on that. Did you read it, what he said, and what did you think of it?
Of course we read it. We're putting news up.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I'm assuming you read it.
The Martin Samuel one. Nothing surprises me if Mike Ashley claims that Benitez went to China for the money, which to some extent is possibly true. But if you're tripling your wages, you're not going to turn that down, are you? But there's no shadow of doubt that Rafa Benitez will want to stay in Europe. He's such a family man. And his daughter's commented on our YouTube channel as well, mentioning a few things about Benitez, the gaffer, he'll come back to Europe. He will come back to Europe within 1 year because he's so far out there. Look, yes, he's on great money. But why would you play in a half-empty stadium full of Chinese players that no one's heard of? Yes, you might get a couple of foreign players coming in, but we're going back to the claims with Ashley and what he said. Is look, take it with a pinch of salt. This is nothing new from Ashley. He's blaming other people, even Lee Charlie did. And we've seen the war of words, Benitez bite back, and it'll probably rumble on for a couple of months. But the quicker we get Mike Ashley out, the better. But that's easier said than done.
Are there more protests planned throughout the season, or
possibly? I personally think the Arsenal one was a failure. I know there was 5,000 officially missing from this stadium because I know the clubs always put out the official attendance with season ticket holders there, which isn't really correct. But I thought it was a failure. I think it needed to be more than 10,000, and we were next door in the Shark Bar, and that was really difficult to watch. But we were pretty disappointed. We actually done a video and we questioned the fans about it. If you're going to do it, go out and do it. Don't just see it on social media. But yeah, we'll see how that goes.
I wish you good luck for the rest of the season. What's your prediction for the game on Sunday? What do you reckon? if you dare give a prediction.
3-0 to use.
3-0. Oh, it's hard to, there's not a lot to shout about in Newcastle at the moment, but you never know. Fortunes can change. Things change very quickly in football. But Lee, Chad, thanks for coming on, man. Wish you good luck for the rest of the season. If you want to go check out the Newcastle content, we're going to have a preview on their channel as well, Newcastle Fan TV. Link will be in the description below. Cheers for coming on, Lee. Thanks a lot, mate.
Yes, mate.
Right, cheers.